Hello, everyone. My name is Marilyn Turkovich, and I'm the Executive Director of the Charter for Compassion. And every month we feature a global read. And we're really excited about today's offering. And somewhere near the end, we'll talk about our next global read. They happen each month, as I mentioned, and we're preparing for next year as well. Today, we are delighted to have Edafe Okporo with his book Asylum. It's a memoir, and you will learn a great deal about him and his situation. He's coming to asylum in the United States, and our facilitator for today is one of the charter's staff people, Felipe Zurita. And Felipe will be doing all the introductions about himself as well as Edafe. I'm hoping I'm saying your name correctly, and if not, my apologies. So I'm going to turn it now over to Felipe.
Thank you, Marilyn. Hi, everyone. My name is Felipe. I am part of the charter staff, as Marilyn mentioned. We're very grateful to have you all here and to be able to have a discussion with Edafe Okporo, the author of the book Asylum. I cannot be more excited to be able to interview Edafe. And let me just give you a little introduction about him. And this comes from the book. Edafe Okporo was born in Warri, Nigeria. He migrated to the United States in 2016 as an asylum seeker and is now a refugee of the United States. Edafe is a global gay rights activist, the founder of Refuge America, and one of the country's most visible voices on the issue of displacement, leading an organization with a vision to provide a welcoming place for displaced LGBTQ people. He's a graduate of Enugu State University and the Stern School of Business at NYU. Edafe is among the inaugural winners of the David Prize, which honors individuals with bold visions for creating a better and brighter New York City. He's also a Logo 30 honoree. He lives in New York City. And also he was one of the award winners of the Troy Perry Award last year in our global gala. Edafe, welcome. Thank you for being here. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm doing good. It's raining in New York City, but I'm fine.
Great. Edafe, and I want to tell everyone in the crowd that is watching right now the webinar, please, this is a great opportunity for you to ask questions, make comments, talk about the book. Honestly, if you have read the book and you're joining us, welcome to ask all the questions that you can. This is the opportunity that you have to talk to the author about this. And let me tell you, Edafe, I am so incredibly grateful for your memoir, for you being able to put into words your incredible experiences and tough experiences, not only, throughout your life. And it makes me really happy to be able to see you succeeding now with sharing your story, storytelling other people, and also explaining so many systems and issues that you have faced and that we see as problems in the LGBTQ community. I myself am a gay person as well, and so and an immigrant, and so reading your story felt very much close to home. So thank you for putting that into words. And I wanted to, open the questions in the conversation. Again, everybody's welcome to add things on the chat or in the Q&A. But tell me, what was it that inspired you to put to write a memoir, to write about your life, to be so vulnerable about your story?
I think that if you have a difficult experience, sometimes one of the ways you deal with it is like talking through your difficult experience. And as I went around talking about this struggle I had as a displaced LGBTQ person, a lot of people resonated with it and said, this should be a book. I wasn't like traditionally a writer. I didn't dream of writing a book or expressing myself through literary form, because I do speak and I believe like interacting with people through my voice and all my physical features was the best way to pass my message. But I was traveling around the country and it became like it was too much to go and be in every place and tell the same story. So writing a book was a way for me to like close a chapter and give people an opportunity to come into this journey with me by recognizing how far I have come. Because when you see somebody, you tend to judge them based on where they are now and not where they came from. Because many people tell me like, oh, you're a very strong person, you've done this, you've done that. And I just wanted them to know that aside from the strengths I espouse from the outside world, there are people that made it possible, like my grandmother, who was a religious person who gave me the opportunity to express myself, and my aunt who paid for my tuition. I wanted to honor those people. So writing a book was an opportunity for me to express myself as more than just what people see on the surface.
Thank you. And I love that your dedication of the book was to those powerful women in your life. What a beautiful tribute to them. So for people, that are joining us now, this book has 7 chapters, and I felt like it was very well organized in the sense of each chapter really showed a specific part of your life, a specific struggle, the people that were there that showed you kindness, that showed you compassion, as well as the many tribulations that you had to go through. How was the process for you to be able to divide those things, either chronologically, or what is in your head?
So the book was supposed to be 9 chapters. I had to cut 2 chapters because while I was at the tail end of writing the book, I lost my father. April last year, I lost my father. So there's so many stories about my father in the book that I had to remove because they say that when somebody is dead, if you don't have a nice thing to say about them, don't say anything. So the book became reorganized at the very end. I had to cut a lot of things. I have to reshape a lot of things because I was like, okay, if I'm not telling story of my father, who are the people in my life that can help me color the narrative I wanted to tell? So I decided to tell stories of the women in my life, leaving my father for a future time. I wanted to tell the story in 3 formats. The first format was, where did I come from? Who I am before people got to know me, and what are the struggles I went through. So it's like coming from Warri, Nigeria, being an effeminate gay person, and the trials and tribulations I had to go through to get an education, being the first person in my family to do that. The second part of the book was like, okay, after achieving all those things, I was supposed to flourish in Nigeria, but my life was in danger and I had to flee. So this is what is the challenge of being a displaced person. What are the struggles you face, like being detained in immigration, trying to get my asylum. Then the last part of the book was really focused on asylum seekers come here because they want to build a better life. But let me just give you an example of what a better life would look like if people get the opportunity to achieve that. It's not in financial wealth or in status or in influence, but it's the community that they are able to create. So I decided to divide the book into those 3 parts so that I am not just a number, but I'm a human being. Because in the middle of the book, as I was writing, I saw that most of the things I wrote was like categorizing displaced people as numbers, alien number from the airport, getting to a detention center. And I was like, I don't want to just make this story all about persecution. I want to give it a life of like, oh, I'm a kid that had aspiration to be this person. And there are circumstances beyond my control that led me to flee my country. Now that I'm in this part of the world, with the support of these people, this is the kind of life I'm living now. That's the structure.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think it's quite clear in the purpose of the book in that sense. So thank you for that. So tell me a little bit about growing up in Warri, Nigeria.
So when I was very young, I had a lot of ambition. And in Warri, if you're ambitious, people frown upon you because they're like, where do you get that kind of ambition from? Because Warri people are viewed like Florida man, for example. It's like, if you say Florida man, people find it to be funny, find them to have like a lot of behaviors that are unusual. Warri is the same way. We have this bravado. We're seen to be rugged, masculine. There's a slang that say, worry not a carry last. That means in a race, a worried person would not lose the race. So we have this tenacity, but it also comes with the downsides for minorities because everybody expects a man to be like the head of the household, take care of the family. And the traditional values is that a man can get married to two women, have a lot of children. It's okay in as far as taking care of them. So I grew up in that kind of environment whereby everybody wants me to be a man. That is, get married to a woman, have children. So like growing up, if I talk about my ambition to have an education, to do things, people like, you don't want to get married, you don't want to have children, because that is what they know to be like a successful life. Is like getting married and having children. So when I was growing up in Warri, it was very, very fun. I was part of that culture of like, oh, I want to get married to a woman, I want to have children. This is the life I want to build. Like when I was very younger. And also, we love soccer. It's a very big deal. Like football is a very big deal in Warri because, there is no amusement park. There is no fun thing to do. Mostly we play soccer on the streets Sunday and Saturday morning. That's the kind of life I grew up with in Warri. And it was a very, very fun and interesting place. And the value systems also are very, very traditional and conservative in nature.
And so in a society that reinforces certain stereotypes, that doesn't explore very much away from the typical thing that everybody is, conforming to, what was it like for a gay kid to grow up in that? Like, oh, I can't even
I wish I have the words to explain that I was gay. I didn't. I didn't have the vocabulary. I didn't know who gay people were or if they existed or if it's possible to be a gay person. I thought that I was just having a demonic feeling because I was having attraction to other men. And that was what the church reinforced, that if you are not having sexual relationship with someone of the opposite sex, then you must be possessed by a demonic spirit, because this is not something that is, it's not common sense. So I struggle with the fact that I don't know who I was and what was happening to me. I was like, why am I being punished by God? Because if I was normal like every other person, I wouldn't have feelings towards guys. That was the language I had then. I remember when I was in high school, like middle school in America. So I had feeling for another guy. We were trying to like play. I wrote it to the book. And the guy was like, reported me to school authorities that I was trying to be playing with. It was like a setup. And my school reported me to my parents, and my parents took me to a church to conduct conversion therapy, whereby they prayed the gay away. And, I remember when I left home from high school to go to college, my mother told me that, Uncle Tony died of cancer. And that is my fear for you, Edafe. I don't want you to die of cancer. And that Uncle Tony is a neighbor of ours who died of AIDS. So my mom was really afraid that I will have HIV and die of AIDS. She didn't know, we didn't know, like, there are people who are called gay people and they live like full-fledged life, because there's no internet when I was growing up. There was no cell phone. I didn't see any gay person until I went to college in 2009 and logged onto Facebook, that I saw that gay people existed someplace else.
Right? Yeah. Wow. You know, in your book, there's a really, really big component on religion, on Christianity, and the role that it played in your life. You know, and I love that there are points of view of the Nigerian man, of the gay man, and the man that, you know, you kind of like wanted to be for others. And so, and funny and sad enough, I feel like the story that you share about a kid not knowing where they fit in and trying to be in the position that a church or a religion tells them to, and feeling demonic or feeling out of place, sadly is not just something that happens in Christianity. It's sadly not something that only happens in Nigeria. Me growing up in the Mormon religion and the LDS religion, saw that not I saw that more in other people than myself, because I was a convert, so I wasn't raised in the Mormon church, but other people felt very much like they were so out of place, that they were not loved by God, that they
Yeah.
were demonic. And what can you tell, if we were to have a group of young kids in this kind of like religions that teach that, what are some words that you would like to tell them now?
I think that one experience does not fit all, because I am still reeling from the fact that I don't know who I am in that sense, because I loved the Christian religion. I wanted to be a part of the religion so badly. I became a pastor. I wanted to love God and love Jesus and be a part of that religion. Just that the religion did not give me a space to be that person, that I can be gay and be a Christian at the same time. And, you know, I think that if I have anything to tell them is that I don't know the ins and outs of the religion, but the bottom line of every religion is love. And I think that if God wanted us to love one another, He wouldn't also want us to persecute another for that specific reason also. I am in conflict with myself every single day because I want to be a Christian so badly. Just that the religion puts us in war with ourselves, because if I go to church on Sunday and the pastor says that gay people are going to rot in hell, and I am a gay person, then I am in conflict with myself, because I am being hypocritical. I'm going to a place that is saying that I'm going to rot in hell. So I think that we need a middle ground, so that people who find themselves in that dilemma can say that I am a Christian, I am gay at the same time. The issue with polarity is that if the infinity symbol can be an example of polarity, at each end, the highest tension comes at this end or at this end. But for it to be an infinity symbol, that means it has to flow from this end to this end to this end, back and front. So that means the two ends of the polarity have to work together. So I think that we need to create a space whereby you can be both things at the same time. And I think it can be on the people who are finding it difficult to express themselves in the church to create a religion. That's what Reverend Troy Perry did. He created a religion whereby you can be Christian and gay. So find a community that is accepting for who you are, where you can practice both. You can practice your religion and still know that you are not going to be condemned for who you are.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's so much that we can go into that, right? And thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that with all of us. In, you know, as I see chronologically in the book, I feel like you had a really great, scary, and exciting renaissance of your life when you went to college, when you went to university. Can you tell us a little bit about that time of your life? Tell us your feelings, your discoveries, like everything that you lived through that time.
I think that the internet played a big role in my renaissance and discovery as a college student, because, you know, the first time I left my family, the first time I left Warri, this place that has made me this person that I have become. So I now went to a different community with different people, different set of mindsets. And the first thing that came to my mind is that maybe I could be myself far away from my family and nobody would get to know who I was. But the first thing I did was to have a girlfriend, because I think that it was like a cover for who I was on the inside. I was like, okay, if I have a girlfriend, people would not say I'm gay. It didn't work out that well because I couldn't really lie to her constantly and be in a relationship with her. So I decided to, okay, become a pastor, because if I'm a pastor, people would not ask me, when are you getting married? Or where's your girlfriend? All those questions that people are supposed to ask me. But one day I was on a dating app, on a gay dating app, and I met somebody who invited me to another city close to my school. I went to visit him. He drove me in his car to this place that we're supposed to spend the night in. And I discovered that it was a Catholic church. And I asked him, like, oh, why did you bring me to a church? And he was like, I'm a priest. I told my friends that you're traveling to school and you're going to stop by, take some things and leave the next day. You know, it blew my mind that this priest was hiding a sexuality. And I'm like, this is who I'm going to be if I remain a pastor and a gay person. So this was when I came out as gay, because I was like, I didn't want to live a lie and I didn't want to hide who I was. But coming out as gay in Nigeria comes with its own challenges, which are uniquely not reserved for gay people in Nigeria. I think it's a challenge that gay people face all across the world, even in the United States or in the South, whereby when you come out, first is rejection from your family, like, oh, you're demonic, why would you have to do this? I wouldn't pay your school fees. It's like different kind of like sabotage comes from different parts to like attack you. But I told my family that this is who I am and I cannot change. But why I had the courage to tell my family, I didn't have the courage to tell my friends in school or people. Like, I don't want everybody to know that I was gay because it would have come with a lot of harm to me. And one day I decided to meet somebody close to my school. And I didn't know that this person was lying and they were a group of mobs. So because there was so much secrecy, so much hiding, I didn't know much about what it means to be a gay person. So this guy said, okay, I'll teach you how to be a gay person. Just come and visit me. So I took a cab to go visit this person. When I got there, they brought me into the apartment and they asked me to strip naked and they were beating me up. They're like 5 guys. So it was a mob. They kept me on hostage. They went to the bank, took money from my account. And when I came back, they pushed me out with just my brief on. And they said I should find my way back to my school. And I said to myself then that I wouldn't be gay anymore. Because if this is what it means to be gay, I don't want to be gay. So it was like a roller coaster of like, okay, I'm dating a woman, I become a pastor, I come out, there's rejection, and I went back to hiding because I was like, if this is the life it takes to be a gay person, maybe I shouldn't be a gay person. So that 5 years of my life in college was like the most turbulent time of my life. I just wanted to complete my school and move far away to a city. Maybe I could be myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And reading that part in the book was really heartbreaking. And I'm so sorry that you went through that. I so many times while reading the book, I would try to put myself in your shoes and feel so much fear. And which really surprised me how you flourished after graduating from college and moving to the other city. What did you graduate in? Food science, or what was it? Yeah,
Science and technology.
Yeah, correct. And so, then graduating and moving to this other city and meeting more gay people, also in a sense of secrecy, but it seemed like you just like owned it in a different sense. I mean, not to spoil the book to anyone here, but you got so involved in like men's health and HIV and AIDS prevention. How was it like to do that during that time in Nigeria? I mean, because you doing that, it's like a big target on your face, right?
It's a death sentence. Yeah, there are 3 ways to fight back. Number 1 is, okay, it's hard to be gay. I would hide. Most people opt in for that. And number 2 is I will make myself to be accessible to so many people in a way that I would lose self-confidence in who I am. Because I'm like, okay, you'll be like, okay, if I'm not accepted by my family, maybe these people will accept me. Or if anybody accept me, so be it. The third way is that I'm not going to take shit from anybody. I'm not going to allow myself to be used by people. I'm going to fight back, or else I will die. That is the mindset I had, because I moved to this city that was very vibrant and so many gay people. We had the best life we could have ever had. They used to call us the gay capital of West Africa in Abuja. It was so lovely. Then there's like ravage of HIV. People are dying. All your friends are dying. You're like, okay, what happened? This person is dead. That person is dead. This person is sick. Just because the government decided they want to have a war against gay people with the new legislation. So the only way I could have stayed alive was to fight back. So me and my friends, we started the first human rights organization in Abuja. We're just fighting to grant access to healthcare services for gay men. And in that fight, we also found a lot of safety and community, because we organized church services on Sunday, where we give food to people in the community. We organize parties whereby people come, and the first time they ever get tested for any sexually transmitted infection to reduce the rate of transmission within the community. It was just like a utopia that you cannot like resist being a part of, because it's so beautiful if you see it in person. It's like the best magic you can ever add is to know that because of what you do, somebody else can be themselves. So it was very, very an exciting time of my life. Even when I look back, I still think it's one of the best times of my life ever.
Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. And the most wonderful time of your life, in a sense, became your death sentence in Nigeria, which is when you flew into the US trying to get asylum. And man, what a discouraging chapter to read about how you were treated once you landed in the US and taken into a detention center. While you had the visa, you had the paperwork, and I feel like there's there's so much to it. Please.
That was why I wrote the book Asylum, and that's why it's called Asylum, not a story about my life, because I think that my story illustrates to some extent the challenges asylum seekers face, but people still call me the special one. The millions of people that have it worse than I did. Some people died in detention centers. Some people spent 2 years in detention centers. Some people are harassed because of their sexual orientation and gender identity. Trans people placed in a wrong cell. I have it good compared to a lot. So it was just like the tip of the iceberg of what people face. And the horrific thing about being an asylum seeker is that most people end up not being able to speak up about it because they're afraid that maybe they will not have their green card or US citizenship because they are vocal about it. Because that system is created inherently to deter people from coming into the United States, just Black and brown people, and not any other type of person. Because the immigration detention started as a way to deter Cuban and Asian migrants from coming into the US. And they turn it into, okay, we're trying to verify the place you come from, or to see if you are not a flight risk, or to see if you are safe. But private prisons is far different from the intention to verify if you are a terrorist or not. Because private prisons trade in the US stock market. That means they're trading on the empathy. They're not empathy, they're trading on the pain and tribulations of these people who come to America with the intention of finding safety.
Absolutely. You know, one of the great things about your book is how many sources are quoted and cited in your book. Statistics about, for example, the detention system and the private prison complex, and how, just like you're saying, it's being traded as stock for the lives of those people that believe this sort of like Hollywood idea of what the US could have been for them, or how they will maybe be received with wide open arms, when in reality they were welcomed in a cement cell, in a cement bed, in a cell shared with, like, you know, tons of people, and everybody just looking for safety, everybody looking for hope. And how heartbreaking to see that you and others in the situation were received the way that they were. Was there, okay, so you arrived to the States, when was it, like 2016 or?
2016.
2016, okay, perfect. And so that was, you know, we had number 45 as the president, and there were a lot of things that were happening with the law and immigration, and, you know, obviously, as you were saying, especially to Black and brown people, so there's a lot of institutionalized racism that we see, that white supremacy is all over, everywhere. You have a whole chapter on how is it to be a gay man, Black gay man in America. And I felt so deeply for the experience that, yes, Black gay men, but Black people in general face in this country and many other countries, because white supremacy really is a worldwide issue. It's taking over everything. It's colonialism at its finest. Could you share more about your feelings about that in that chapter specifically?
I think that I too am learning a lot about racism, because, you know, before I came to the US, I didn't know I was a Black person. In America, I'm a Black person. What a realization. I got to find out that I'm a Black person, not just by the immigration system, but by the entirety. It's like you don't notice racism until you are Black. It's like You don't notice the fine details of what a racist society is until you have that skin color that shows that you're Black. I would leave it at that. America has a deep root with systemic racism that needs anti-racism work to uproot those deep roots of systemic racism in every facet of the society. And our immigration policies have been deeply rooted into race as a measure for vulnerability and as a measure for entrance into the United States. So we still use race as a criteria to grant a specific group of people entrance into the United States. For example, in 2012 to 2015, there was a crisis in Europe, the migrant crisis. And Syrian migrants were trying to find a place to call home. There was no outcry in the United States that we should take in Syrians because they are brown people. And quote unquote, Islamophobia also plays a role. But when Ukraine had crisis, we're like, let's bring them in to the United States because white sympathetic racism plays a role in who gets to come into this country. When you come into this country, there is a really deep, like, grief you feel towards how white people view displaced people who are Black. It's like, we need help. No, we flee persecution to come to this country. And if we have our way, some few people will come to America for economic opportunity, but nobody really wants to leave their home to never have the opportunity to go back again. That is not a choice anybody would make. So I think that there is a grief that comes with realizing that you're a Black person in America and how you are treated. And I chronicled in the book one of the maltreatment I faced as a recently resettled migrant. Even when I started gaining status in this society, there was a time I was a guest speaker, I wrote in the book, and I was treated by the guard at the security entrance of an event where my name was boldly written, Edafe, Okporo, guest speaker, because I'm a Black person, and the security didn't expect that I would be a keynote speaker for a Jewish event in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. So that is like interpersonal racism. Then we have this colonial institutional racism that plays a role also in foiling homophobia in Africa, as I outlined in the book, whereby evangelical Christians from the West who have lost the battle in the West now travel to the continent of Africa and trying to promote their ideas of what God's own continent should be and why gay people shouldn't be accepted. That's a form of like reverse racism that plays on the continent of Africa. It's no longer enslaving people physically, but it's enslaving people with money and their minds based on the control that they can transfer from one place to another. So I think that we have this savior complex in the West that plays in developing countries, in how we treat them or how we handle people who come from those parts of the world. It's a very emotional, taxing issue that I find it very difficult to explain sometimes.
Thank you for your words and yeah, and your commentary on this, because lots of people will never understand it unless they live it, which in many ways is sort of like a reflection of your life and your book. You know, you have lived this oppression, and because you have lived that, you feel for others that are living that are living or have lived that situation, and are working towards something else, which it's basically the definition of compassion. Something that I love to say all the time is, we have, you see someone on the street that is in pain, and sympathy would be, okay, that person is in pain, but that's it. You see that person on the street that is suffering, you see that person and you say that person is in pain, and then you feel with them, that's empathy. You see that person on the street that is suffering, you say that person is suffering, I feel for that person, and I want to take action to eliminate that pain, to help that person. That is compassion. And I don't think there's a bigger example of compassion in this book than your life story. You experiencing the persecution as a child in Nigeria, and then experiencing all the troubles in the asylum process here, and then later on trying to live in the US, and still having to face more and more. Yet you became an activist. You spoke and worked for other people that were suffering as well. Your situation maybe got a little bit better, and there you're helping in the shelter, in the church that you were at. Can you tell us a little about what is it that you went to activism once again with all those experiences lived?
So I think that our capacity for compassion is endless. They say, if you look at the statistics of people who give the most are people who have the least. So when you grow up not having a lot, you know how hard it is for people who don't have less than what you have. So I go with the philosophy that for someone who have nothing, something is everything. That is my philosophy, is that I don't have to do the grandest thing. I don't have to do groundbreaking change work. But if I can be something for somebody who have nothing, then I have achieved something in my life. And that compass is how I go through life. I go through life every day thinking, what is the slightest thing I can do that can make a difference in another person's life? And I think that the greatest magic you can and you would ever do in your life is to give something to somebody, something that you take for granted that can mean a lot to them. It's kindness. And that is how I move through life, is that I was thinking, I do have a degree. I recently have a master's from NYU, from the School of Business. I could work as an investment banker, but I choose not to, because I think that if everybody choose to go through that route of like compounding more and more and more, then who's going to continue to push the consciousness of others to say we can be better? Because we have to live by the example of how we want the world to be. And that is how I view activism. It's like, it could be changing laws, it could be bringing systemic change, but it could be making somebody else's life better. So I choose to make somebody else's life better. Because if I focus on I will tend to think about all the struggles I'm going through. At that time, there were a lot, like, how do I get X? How do I get Y? It was just too much of me problem. So I decided to make it we problem.
Yeah. And and that's one of the things that I actually really loved about sort of like coming more into the end of the book. There was a point where, you realized that you were getting tired, that you were being spent, running out of energy, in the sense of like, you were doing so much work and everything that you started seeking mental health, right? And one of the things that was recommended to you is to do some self-care, or in that case, self-compassion, which also for us in the Charter for Compassion is a big, big part of what we try to share with people, is that in order for us to be compassionate beings, we need to be compassionate to ourselves first. Sort of like putting your mask first in an airplane and then put it to somebody else beside you. You need to fill that up. And so what a beautiful thing that you were able to recognize and share with everyone that is reading the book about the importance of self-compassion, about the importance of caring for oneself as well. And so with that, can we go into a little bit of a lighter note and talk about your life with what's your partner,
Nicholas.
Nick?
Nicholas,
Yes.
yeah.
Please, honestly, I that gave me so much joy. Like, from so much struggle and pain and work and energy and all of these things that you're doing, there's this little soft side in the book about Nick and your relationship with him.
I think that when I read through books, people express how their partners help them. And in that vein, many people who happen to be LGBTQ or members of the LGBTQ community tend not to express the emotional part of their relationship with their partners because they feel judged. And it was my love story. Is an opportunity to write a love letter to younger gay people who grew up in situations like I grew up in Warri that never saw a gay person elsewhere to say that I saw Edafe and Nick. And I know that gay people exist and they can have loving relationships that are supporting each other just like heterosexuals does. And it's an opportunity for me to also let the world know that this was the reason why I chose to come to the United States, was to live in freedom, was to be able to live that life I now live now. And why economic opportunities can be a topic of discussion, some people come here just to be able to do that.
Thank you. So what's next for you? What are you thinking of doing with your voice, with your work? What can we see of Edafe in the next couple of years or so? Is that something that you can share with us?
Nothing. They say when you are single, they're like, when are you going to start dating? When you start dating, they're like, when are you going to get engaged? When you get engaged, or when are you going to get married? Or when you get married, when are you going to get your first kid? When you're on the first kid, like, when are you going to get a second kid? And on and on. And when are you going to be a grandmother? So I don't know what is next, because 6 years ago, when I came to the United States, if you have told me that I would be where I am today, I wouldn't have believed it. In 2022, in May, I celebrate my graduation from NYU. In June, I launched this book, and in July, I got married. And like, what else is there for me? I don't know. I'm just being grateful for all I have right now. And if something else comes in the future, so be it. But I don't know. I don't have any big dreams of the future or to do stuff, because I think that I don't want to be philosophical, but in America, there's the kind of economy we live in is an economy that pushes people to be so much productive and less about how are you enjoying all your productivity. And I grew up in a community whereby people take breaks a lot and people enjoy what they have. And if I can be able to enjoy what I have right now, and I've worked so hard for what is next, then when I get what is next, I wouldn't be able to enjoy it because I'll be asking for what is next. So I don't know what is next.
And what a great advice. What a great advice. Yeah, no, I was just wondering if you had like any other projects coming up, like another book or something like that. But
oh,
so happy.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're trying to work on a documentary on LGBTQ displaced people from my organization, Refuge America. Yeah, so there's nothing else. It's just like the work of my nonprofit, and yeah.
Okay, you know, there's something to be said about the work of nonprofits in your book. The letter writing organization, the organization that provided lawyers for assisting you in your process of seeking asylum. And then you know, you have a pretty big section of acknowledgments. And so can you tell us a little bit about, I mean, any of those organizations that really like changed your life? And then I would love to hear about your organization, Refuge America, you know, in this last couple of minutes that we have of this hour.
So I usually advise people to volunteer their time to nonprofits because I think time is more valuable than money sometimes. Money is valuable, but if you are working in social services, time is very valuable. People trying to register for Social Security, trying to get a lawyer, and so on. A few advice I have is that it's always best to volunteer for grassroots organization rather than national organization, because you're making an impact in your specific community, is local, and is focused on something that you can see tangible change in. So that's what I always advise. My organization, Refuge America, we are not a legislative organization and we don't provide social services. We do storytelling, and people find it confusing, like storytelling. Why storytelling? Because we believe that stories is the gateway to people's hearts. And if we can be able to share more stories about displaced people, it can humanize their struggles and lead people to see why they can and why they should support these people to lead better lives.
Thank you, Edafe. Seriously, what a pleasure to be able to talk to you, to dig a little bit about your brain and your experiences, and to hear your voice, and to see that, you know, they're just like your story. It's inspiring others. You are doing the same work, you know, trying to get other people's stories to inspire more people. Thank you. Thank you for your example of compassion. Thank you for your book. Thank you everyone for attending. Marilyn, please, you are allowed to, no, you're not allowed. You're welcome to please join us again here. But Edafe, thank you so much, truly. And for people that want to visit Edafe's organization, refugeamerica.org. refugeamerica.org. So yes. Thank you once again for joining us here. And Marilyn, are you there?
I hope I'm here.
Yes, there you are.
and thank you so much. I resonate with the storytelling piece, and for people who have a chance to visit the Charter website, if you can go under communities and see the Grassroots Wisdom book, we're looking for your stories. We want to have people not only have the experience of an opportunity to write their stories down, but to share them so that others can take heart with them, and in many cases might be able, with projects especially, to replicate them and make them their own in the communities in which they live. So thank you so much for this global read. It has been truly wonderful. I want to give you a little preview of what's coming up in December, and it's right around the corner. We have John Culkin's Inner Harmony, Living in Balance. It's an unusual book in so much as that it is primarily a photojournalistic type of book. It's going to be on December 7th at 9 a.m. John is a medical doctor, but has been involved in photography for many, many years, and has made countless numbers of trips to India, and especially to Dar es Salaam, where he has done a great deal of photography of that community. It's a stunning book, and I hope that you'll be able to join us for that. Another thing that we do at the Charter is that we have a film series. And each month, just as we have a global read, we have a film that we share with people. And the film for this month is The Power of the Heart. And the unique thing about the film festival is that you can register. The film is available for a certain number of days, and in this case, December 15th to the 17th. And again, you can go to the front page of our website, and you'll be able to click the link there so that you can register. And then we want to give you a preview, very short one, for what's coming up. We're opening our read, our global read for 2023 with Rick Hansen. And many people know him for various of his books. Buddhist Brain probably is one of the most popular of his books, but Rick has been a New York Times bestseller writer for quite some time. We recently, within the last year, have been doing a lot with Rick because of the startup of a new organization that he has, which is the Global Compassion Coalition, and the charter's very much involved in that group. And so you'll not only be hearing Rick in January if you join us, but he's also going to be giving us a course early in 2023. And the facilitator for the conversation with Rick is Jennifer Nadel. And Jennifer is an interesting person in her own right. She's the founder of Compassion in Politics in the United Kingdom, and is very much involved in global politics. She's a barrister, as well as the new CEO for Rick's organization, the Global Compassion Coalition. And then the Charter Education Institute, again, for many people who are on the call, is that we have courses each month. And the January course is how do we create fertile soils for just change? And it's with Ellen Safati, who is part of the Global Education Institute team. So we're looking forward to not only that course, but for you joining in that course. Thank you so much to Felipe and Edafe, and we hope that if we don't see you, we hope that there are many holidays coming up and that you are present in all of them with joy and Thanksgiving. So we'll see you the next time. Bye, everyone.